Writing these songs helps me change, then I have to. Not even for me, but everyone that I matter to. I've got this feeling life won't always be like this. My dad said to me, it's your calling, your purpose. Walking through this life like a man with no shadow. Always by myself, just trying to find my way. I've got no idea of how to get this thing started. Looking for a way out never got me by. I'm so scared and I don't know what to do. All this medicine does is hide the truth. How could you be happy if you've got nothing to prove? So get up and get out there, son, what you got to lose. Walking through this life, forgetting strife in the rear view. Don't prolong the pain, I owe myself more than that. If I learned my lesson, could I go back to high school? Tell myself to have some fun, don't be so pent up. I'm so scared and I don't know what to do. All this medicine does is hide the truth.
Hey everybody, welcome. This is a special edition of the SchuBros coming to you live on a Monday night here on the 10th of August, which means in the Ross Schumann household, it is a birthday night.
I mean, at this point, with as many kids as you have, is there any that aren't birthday nights?
I mean, we're starting to knock out each and every month. We're working our way there. Okay, that's the goal. Is just to get one in every month. But this one doesn't count because it'll probably be in October, which means we already had an October because the wife's birthday's in October. So we'll just have to have another one to compensate for that.
Okay, well, I mean, I didn't know Molly was in October, but your kids, you have to have one in each. If you're going to do that, you got to have a kid in each month.
Well, so the plan is very shortly to buy a 12-passenger van, and then that will be much more possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go on record and saying y'all are a little bit on the insane, but hey, you do you as long as you can afford it.
That's right. So speaking of affordability, the reason we came together tonight was to talk about what's a pretty groundbreaking decision. Possibly, it's hard to believe who is right here because I've heard it's a done deal. I've heard they came together and they discussed it, but they didn't actually vote. So where are we, Kyle? You're more into this.
I'm hearing a couple different things. And the fact that it's the Big Ten or the Big is utilizing their power and floating things to the media to see what is and isn't going to come over like a lead balloon.
Yeah.
If it's perceived well, then that's the direction they'll go. If it's not, they're going to reverse course. Now, they fully expected, after the last few days of floating the idea of canceling the season, that there wasn't going to be any pushback. And then what you see today is that there's a ton of pushback from the players, from the fans, from the ADs to the coaches. Yeah. And the Big is kind of backtracking and now going, oh, we never had a meeting, even though there was a ledger of who voted which way. So I'm not sure how you know exactly who voted for what, but then, oh no, there was never a vote. So that's kind of interesting to me. They go, oh, it was 12-2. The only two that abstained were Iowa and Nebraska.
Which that part we do know at least to be true because Scott Frost came out today and said that Nebraska's going to play football regardless.
Yeah.
So because Kyle is really bad at setting things up, what we're talking about is the NCAA college football season.
Well, I mean, you kind of buried the lead. I'm just kind of going ahead and working from what you started.
Kyle is the SME for this show when it comes to college football.
Okay? Yes.
So for those of you who don't know what that is, that's subject matter
expert. Yeah.
So Kyle is definitely our college football subject matter expert. So if we're going to talk college football, I tend to defer to you, sir, and allow you to lead that. If we're talking economics, I'll take that conversation. Okay. If we're talking college football.
For reference, if I say BDF or Big Dumpster Fire, I'm referring to the Big 12, aka the Longhorn 10. Because after Nebraska and Colorado left, then it was the Big 12 -2, and then you had A&M and Missouri leave, so then it was the Big 12 -2, and then they added West Virginia and TCU. So now you got the Big 12 -2 +2, or as we just like to refer to it as the Big Dumpster Fire over here in SEC country. Says that conference is doomed for implosion as soon as their grant of rights is up, which you think is coming up in the next 2 years. They're either going to scramble and try to grab at least 2 more quality programs, or it's going to dissolve and become something completely else. Some teams will go to the Pac-12, some teams will go to the Big 10, some teams will go to the ACC. I don't think any are going to go to the SEC because we're already at 14. And I think a lot of them are going to get left out in the cold.
Well, and where Texas is screwed there is Texas, the SEC
they can't come to the SEC.
Yeah, SEC has a rule that says that all members have to unanimously vote to allow any school in, correct?
I don't think it's unanimous, but it has to be at least like 70%, and there's a unwritten agreement on the books of all the states that are single states schools, like A&M, Louisiana, LSU, Georgia.
They get a veto Kentucky, because of media presence, right?
They will veto any additional school from a already established state, which is very smart when it comes to money and eyeballs for TV sets, because there is no benefit to the SEC to add Texas. You've already got Texas A&M. You've already got all the Texas television sets.
Plus the SEC has an equal share across, right? Like Vandy gets the same amount as Alabama. It seems weird there because it definitely seems like Alabama brings more value, but Vandy brings value to the SEC and definitely baseball. Vandy's definitely one of the better baseball teams.
As a good basketball school,
good basketball program. They're also educationally really high up there.
They're one of the better schools when it comes to education in the conference. Vanderbilt, A&M, Missouri, and I think Georgia are like the top 4 when it comes to academics. Florida's up there too.
I can say one thing about Missouri definitively. There's no rhyme or reason.
They're dumb as shit if they let you in.
There's no rhyme or reason to how they develop their student ID usernames. Mine is just some random ass characters, and I'm trying to remember it because luckily Google will save my passwords and my username, because otherwise I'd have no shot at this. I mean, it's just this random ass series of digits, and it's not anything that would resemble at Syracuse it was R.A. Schuma, S-C-H-U-M-A, which is R, my middle initial A, and then the first whatever characters of the last name. Okay, that's perfectly reasonable. That's actually my username for a lot of stuff now, because it's that was easy to remember. But this is R-S-Y something 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 yada yada, and it's holy crud. And most schools are at tamu.edu or at Syracuse.edu. This is at UM Systems, so the University of Missouri system, because what they've done is they've combined it all into one campus. So there's University of Missouri, which I'm going to, which is the full-fledged SEC school. Then there's University of Missouri St. Louis, University of Missouri other place, yada yada. So, okay, Big 10, 12, and the Pac-12 14 are looking more likely.
And the Big 10 14.
I thought the Big 10 was 12 now. Is it 14?
Well, 10 or 14 or 12 or 14. Either way, they're not the Big 10 anymore.
I think the Big 10 is the 12 now. That's why the logo has a 2 in it somewhere. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm pretty sure the Big 10 has 12 teams.
I think you might be right. But I know they had recently added a few more schools. So yeah, it doesn't have the 2 anymore. Now the G is just weird. But it's 1-0 and the G is made to look kind of
because
like,
they added Nebraska and they added
and then they added Rutgers and I want to say Maryland.
Maryland, yeah, I think they added, yeah. So I think they may be up to
14. They're up to 14 teams as well. So yeah, they got the SEC, the Pac-12, 14, the Big 10, 14. All have 14 teams in their conference. You've got the Big 12 that has 10. Confusing. And then let's see, what was the other power?
They've made offers to go get 2 more. So
yeah,
they've made offers to Boise.
Here's the issue that they have is that Texas still runs that conference, and OU is kind of their lapdog when it comes to who runs the conference. Now, when it comes to who actually wins the conference, that's OU far and away. But with who runs it, it's still the Longhorns still have majority of the power, and they and OU together can threaten all the other schools, and all the other schools just go, okay.
Yeah.
We'll do whatever you say, because those two are the only real powerhouse schools.
Well,
Oklahoma State is tied to Oklahoma, so they don't really have an option. And
that's
TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech are kind of just going, thank God we're in a conference that's not the MAC.
Yeah. Yeah, so TCU, of course, was Mountain West. So from my knowledge, Big 12 has looked at Boise State as a possible option, and then
BYU, Notre Dame.
Well, BYU told him to go stuff it, right?
Well, so did Notre Dame.
Yeah,
but
both of those are independent, so there's no chance that either one of those are going to come after. That either one of those are going to be a possibility. I've heard the Big 12's also gone after Louisville.
I've heard that one. That one just, I guess that would make sense because they have West Virginia.
Yeah.
So it would pair them.
School.
Yeah, you have them in a kind of a pod system.
So that would give, give you West Virginia, Kentucky, and the Kansas, then down Oklahoma, back down to Texas.
Yeah. Now, my question, I can't remember, is Louisville part of the Big East, or are they part of the ACC?
I think they're ACC now because they play Clemson and Duke every year.
So then Louisville's not going to leave a very stable ACC conference to go to the Big 10, 12, whatever they are today, which is not stable at all. So it doesn't make any sense for a school that is in a very stable conference like the SEC, the Big 10, the Pac-12, or the ACC to leave and go to the Big 10. It would make sense for a smaller school that's in like the MEAC or the MAC or the Mountain West that's gotten some notoriety like TCU did to join the Big 12. Now, what hurt the Big 12 was that TCU was already in Texas, so it made no sense for them to add TCU.
Yeah.
They've already got 5 Big 12 schools or Texas schools in the Big 12, so it didn't make sense for them to join
Texas,
Tech, TCU, Baylor, Texas. I say 4. So it didn't.
It was 4, and they went back to 4 because with A&M leaving, it was Tech, Baylor, Texas, A&M, and then A&M went away, and they added TCU to replace A&M. I'm not against. I'm happy TCU's in a bigger conference, but what happened to TCU is that what a lot of people thought would happen, that once they actually started playing a legit conference schedule, they kind of went to crap. I mean, they were the cream of the crop in the Mountain West. It was them and Boise State, and it made for intriguing football, and it helped them recruiting-wise. But when they came to, whereas A&M had that very good first year in the SEC, which kind of helps get them off to a good foot and get them recruiting prowess and a little bit of a threshold in the SEC, TCU did not have that when they came to the Big 12. They got shellacked coming into the Big 12. They absolutely could not compete with Oklahoma, Texas on a year-to-year basis. I mean, Texas has not been great as of late, but TCU has been even worse. And they've had quarterback issues. That's definitely true. Quarterback play is not what is up to par in Big 12 or major conference football. It was, they had quarterback play that could get them through a Mountain West schedule, but definitely not something that's getting them through a Big 12 schedule. Playing OU's defense, playing K-State's defense, those teams. What I'd like to see,
not that those are barn burner teams, but they're
better than the Mountain West
significantly
Conference.
a step up from the Mountain West.
So what I'd like to see, this was the first thought I had. Okay, so the Big Ten is saying they don't want to play football. The Big Ten Conference. Nebraska.
Well, now they're backtracking.
Well, but Nebraska has said they will,
and they even released a schedule today with a delay.
But Nebraska has said they will play football one way or the other. Is there, because going back to some old school days, I would like to see for maybe even just 1 year Nebraska rejoin the Big 12, the original Big 12, and go back to playing Kansas, K-State, OU.
So yeah, there's been a few different things floated. Like you have you break all the, you don't have conference affiliation for this season.
Yeah.
You're still a member of whatever conference you're a member of, but you have a regional affiliation for this season and this season alone. So you'd have A&M go back to playing all the up and down, and we considered the West because the Pac-12 is completely sitting out. They've said they're sitting out. At least I haven't seen them come back and say, no, we're not playing. Mm-hmm. Or no, we were. That was a rumor. That's not what we meant. From everything I can tell, the Pac-12, even their players are like, we're done.
Yeah.
Dan Johns.
Just reported Mountain West has postponed football now too.
Yeah. So the smaller schools, their smaller conferences are going to, and you really can't blame them because the way they make their money is not their conference.
It's playing the bigger schools.
It's playing the Alabama, A&M, Texas, Notre Dame, those schools like that, who then pay them to come get their ass handed to them and go home.
Well,
that's how they make their money.
Most of the time.
Every once in a while, you'll have a Appalachian State upsetting a Michigan, or
BYU upsetting
Arkansas
Texas.
State coming in and beating A&M back in 2012. They did the same thing to Alabama though too. So I mean, you every once in a while you'll have these upsets, and that gets that school a lot of notoriety when it happens. But the real reason they play those games is not to win; it's to make enough money to fund their athletic department for all the other sports, because that's the only way they stay afloat. So if these big Power 5 conferences aren't going to play non-conference teams, and they're going to stick to a conference-only schedule, which the SEC has said they would do, the ACC said they would do, bringing Notre Dame in as a full-fledged football member this year instead of just a non-football sports member, and then the Big 12 is saying they're going to play. We haven't officially heard anything from them. Whereas, the Longhorns are saying they really want to play. And like I said before, if the Longhorns are saying they want to play, the Big 12 is going to play.
So the Pac-12 is going to vote tomorrow, apparently, officially, on whether or not to hold a season. Mind you, you're talking, 4 schools out of California. You have Cal, UCLA, Stanford, and USC. All in California. You have
Oregon State,
Washington State, Colorado,
Utah,
yeah.
Arizona State.
Yeah, there's some other ones.
I can't remember if there's any more. There might be more California schools, to be honest. Back to our question from earlier, Louisville is a member now of the ACC. They are a full-fledged member at this time. I know there was a transition period where they were a partial member for a year or two, but they have now become a full-fledged member.
Yeah, I looked that up. So it was 2014. They went to the ACC when Rutgers went to the Big Ten. So that was the last little bit of the last major transition we saw, because you had
the Big East kind of get rated.
Yeah.
And they're still Big East is still a conference, but it's mostly just a basketball conference now. They don't really have a
Pittsburgh,
UConn.
UConn, yeah.
Yeah, but I think Pittsburgh is actually
Yeah,
no. Pittsburgh's now
Syracuse was Big East,
ACC.
and they went to the ACC.
Yeah.
And
So the ACC kind of raided the Northeast and got some good schools. Kind of
well,
got the cream of the crop of the
it was
Northeastern
kind of weird
schools.
when Big Ten went to Rutgers because that one was kind of didn't geographically make sense for the Big Ten at the
Yeah, that's
time.
New Jersey, right?
That one was a little far out for them, but okay, they wanted to.
Penn State's not too far away.
Yeah, Penn State's.
Maryland's not too far away.
Yeah. Well, again, Maryland was one they brought in there kind of at the end too. Maryland was
Yeah.
I think Maryland was a Big East school.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, the Big East is a powerhouse when it comes to basketball. That's definitely true. They definitely have some good basketball schools. I don't know that we'll see a big conference realignment unless the Big 12 does fold. Unless the big domino there, of course, is Texas. Do they go independent? Because they've threatened to do that for a while.
The what I've heard, and this is just what I'm hearing from people that tell me things that they probably shouldn't, but I don't reveal who I know these things from, so they keep telling me stuff
So
because
your
I
old buddy,
never
the
say who
Lost
I learned it.
Gods, and you were sitting at the house smoking a stogie.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't ever tell. I know stuff that I'm not supposed to know, but I'm good about keeping my mouth shut about where I found it out from. So people will feed me some information sometimes because of that, and I've got my fingers elsewhere. Like I got, the hunting stuff. We get some information from there. Get some stuff from Texags.
Right.
Get some stuff
Just
from
get
Facebook,
to the information.
Whatever. The big thing that Texas wants to do is they still want to go to the Pac-12. They wanted to back when A&M back in 2012 when A&M said no, we're not going to the Pac-12, and that was when that whole restructuring happened, and the Longhorns claim they saved the conference, and then
For a lion's share of the profit sharing,
yeah. They always take credit for everything, no matter if they were the ones trying to blow it up or not. And then the next year or the year after, A&M finally said, "Look, y'all aren't playing in good faith. We're tired of it. We're going to pursue what's in our best interest." And that's when you saw A&M go to the SEC.
And drug Missouri. And I mean, don't get me wrong. At the time, Missouri was a fairly good football program.
They were just
coming off Chase Daniel.
They won the SEC East first 2 years when they joined.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Daniel was there. I mean, you had good quarterback play. I mean, they were maybe not the top of the top of the top, but they were at least a competitive football team. Not that Drew Lock was a good quarterback, but they're not as competitive now as they were then.
No.
But
they really got hurt with that whole Ferguson situation. It put a black eye on them academically and athletically. They did not handle that situation very well. They should have just come out and said, we are a institution and we are going to act as such. But instead, they cowered and caved to a lot of demands, and a lot of people didn't like what came of that. So Arbo and Lofton, who is an Aggie, was up there, and he tried his darndest to stand his ground, and he got a black eye from it, and he left. He said, "I'm done." They've lost a lot of Mizzou lost a lot of clout when it came to academics and athletics because of the whole Ferguson situation. They've done okay kind of now recently to claw their way back in, but as you saw earlier today, not Saturday Down South. God, who is it that made that video? They make funny little skit videos. They made fun of Mizzou and Arkansas getting paired with LSU and Alabama, or Florida and Georgia.
Yeah, so Missouri kind of got shafted when it came to the new cross division rivals. I was kind of hoping they'd get at A&M, right? Because
I thought so. I thought that was a natural. Honestly, when A&M and Missouri joined the conference together, I thought that was a natural pairing. Just put them together as cross-division rivals, but A&M got South Carolina. And I'm not complaining because South Carolina is a fun trip, and they're a good school.
I think they were looking geographically there because South Carolina A&M is about as far geographically as you can go in the SEC, right? That's about That's literally the expanse of the SEC. So you're getting fans from all the way over here to all the way over there, from all the way over here to all the way over there. So I can understand that. Let's see. Missouri got paired with, what was it? Who's
That's
there?
a damn good question.
Because they're SEC East, which is kind of
Yes.
they're actually kind of west of
They're
some of the East teams, but
they're next to Tennessee and Kentucky, who are East members. So it made sense. But they're on top of Arkansas, who's a West member.
yeah, and they're further west than either Alabama or or Auburn.
A lot of people were like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you brought in 2 new members, and you have 2 conferences, you have 2 divisions, so you had to stick one in each. So A&M is definitely further west than Missouri. So
yes.
if you were gonna do it,
and A&M already had natural rivalries with LSU and Arkansas.
well,
A&M
even
had played
Bama
LSU
a little bit
for
because
years.
Paul Bear Bryant, and then of course later on with Dennis Franchione. And it's okay. So Dan's asking about the Sully incident with Kellen Mond and whether or not we want to see him get to play his senior year. Now, is he going to be a senior this year?
This is his senior year,
okay.
Yes. So, Dan, that's a kind of a loaded question. I will go ahead and admit that. Kellen did not attend the later rallies after he was educated about Sully. Whereas you saw Infinity Tucker actually get up on Sully and wave the BLM flag, Kellen was not there. He was not at that protest. From what I've come to understand, Kellen got sat down and told by some of the higher ups in administration, while we, completely agree that you have First Amendment rights and you should be allowed to protest for whatever you feel is right, this protest is misguided. Sully did a lot of things for the black community once he became governor and once he became president of A&M. So maybe the message got through to Kellen that I don't know. I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't. All I know is that he was no longer a member of the protest for the later rounds of protest. I haven't actually seen him tweet much at all as in regards to, A&M and sports and things of that nature recently. I know he's been tweeting, but not as much. Those aren't getting as much attention as they were in the past. But I also know he's not tweeting, in support of "We Want to Play." I mean, there was a big list of all the A&M players who tweeted "We Want to Play" or something thereof, one of the derivatives of that hashtag.
Yeah, we want to play, let us play. Yeah, there was quite a few.
Yeah, his name was not on that list. So I don't know if he would opt out or if he would just try to go pro or if he wants to play. I'm not him. I'm not going to speak for him. I'd like to see him play. He is going to be a senior quarterback. He knows the system inside and out, hopefully by this time. Hopefully he's gotten his his first quarter jitters under control, because that's always been his MO, is to come out in the first quarter and just throw rockets a little high because he's just so amped up. Hopefully he's gotten all that under control now, and as a senior he'll come out and do what you expect him to do, which is just play lights out. If nothing else, game manager, and just make sure we don't lose. We're finally getting a good enough defense. We've got enough weapons around him that he should be able to, orchestrate a pretty good offense. If he's not willing to play, it's next man up. You've got you did have a transfer, the James Foster, who was, the next oldest in the pipeline, has decided to transfer. I did not see if he's selected a school to go to yet. But then you've got Nick Calzada, who's a redshirt freshman out of Georgia. And you've got Haynes King, who's a true freshman out of Longview, Texas. Both were very highly rated, both highly touted. Both look like they are the real deal. But do they know the playbook well enough at this time to come in and be able to lead a team, to a winning season? That's the one thing you really you thought Mon was going to bring to the table, was that experience, that game experience, that game time, that game time just moxie and know-how. It's one thing to be a good quarterback. It's another thing to be a good quarterback in a game. That's all the lights, all the sounds, all the other aesthetics that are going on around him. That's something that he had, it looked like he had finally learned how to control and manage, and was something that we were hoping to see him really take the next step this year and be a good quarterback that played himself into a second, third round draft pick. I don't think he's going to be a first round draft pick by any means, because there's just some really high end talent coming out this year.
Yeah.
But
Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, you don't, and last year was a pretty star-studded class as well. So you don't think he's going to come out and be a first-round draft pick unless he just has a record year. Not saying he won't. He'd probably have to win the Heisman to be taken first round. I don't see it happening.
That's gonna.
Don't see.
happening. LSU. Joe Burrow came out last year, and he was a relative unknown when it came to draft prospects, and went number 1 overall. It can happen, right?
It can happen.
But I mean,
and you've got Jimbo, who's the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, but we also had last year we didn't have a consensus number 1 going into the year, so in other years where we've had consensus number 1 picks, whether it was Cam Newton or whether it was Andrew Luck. Or players like
Robert Griffin III.
That were okay. These guys are going to be right there. Even the year that Myles Garrett. Even that year it was okay. We kind of have 2 or 3 players here that we know are going to go right there at the top, and those players did go right there at the top. And Myles Garrett deserved to be one of those players. I'll tell you this. He has a right to free speech like everybody else. Stupid speech is still a right to free speech. Whether we like
I said, he First Amendment right, and I'm glad that he took a stand for something. I'm not a fan of what he stood for
everything.
But I'm what Winston Churchill said, if you've got enemies, glad that means that you stood up for something.
Yeah, at least you stood for something. So you know what? He came out. I didn't see him get violent. I didn't see him shout anybody else down. I didn't see him, out there calling anybody a Nazi or calling anybody any other form of slur. It seemed like he got up there. He spoke his concern, and sometimes when you're a leader, you speak your concern, even if it's the concern of the people around you. And, I do agree that, I don't particularly agree with the message. It's like Colin Kaepernick. I don't particularly agree with the message. I definitely don't agree with the messenger, because Colin Kaepernick has been very hypocritical in a lot of the things that he's done, from wearing the little piggy socks to, praising Che Guevara, who, of course, I mean, if we want to talk about, systemic racism, Che Guevara and the Cuban government, that's pretty high on the list of systemic racism. So Colin Kaepernick lost a lot of his message to me, but I'll still defend Colin Kaepernick's right to make his message. Now, I fully support you if you decide you don't want to see it and you don't want to watch the product. I'm not against that. I don't watch San Francisco 49ers games. I watch the Cowboys games, and I used to, Kyle can bet this, we used to get home from church, and I used to watch football from about the moment we got home from church to when the Sunday night game was over. And I'd watch whatever games were on our TV, and I'd be flipping back and forth between CBS and Fox, going back and forth between whatever games were in our network. If the Cowboys were playing early, I'd watch their game, and then I'd watch whatever late games were on. Now I pretty much just watch the Cowboys games. Now, a little bit of that is to do with I'm not 14 anymore. I have shit to do, so I can't just sit around and watch 6 football games a week. The other part of it is, I don't like being preached at so much. And at least with Cowboys games, there seems to be less of the preachiness. I don't know. Maybe I'm just more willing to excuse it because it's my team. But when it comes to Coleman, I personally don't think he's an NFL quarterback. I don't think he's going to be I don't even think he's a backup NFL quarterback. Do I think
it all depends on this year, man.
Well,
I think he can make a practice squad and be a career backup.
I'm making observations of what I've seen so far. He could come out again and he could show market improvement. But as of what I've seen at this moment, He's a 55% completion percentage guy. You know, he doesn't make bad decisions with the football. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, but he just misses open receivers far too often for me to think of him as a guy that can transition to the NFL. And he seems lost at times when trying to cover what up defenses are being played. Seems like defenses are able to trick him into thinking something is what it's not. And
Yeah.
it doesn't get to where he throws interceptions because he is smart enough not to throw interceptions, but it gets to where he's a second late throwing the ball to his chosen receiver, or because
He throws a little hot.
yeah, because he's trying to keep the ball away from the defense, trying to keep from an interception. Then he either puts it up a little high or he puts it out a little far ahead, something, and he just misses those guys that it's like, you see him rock back and release it, and you look and you see the receiver down the field and you see, oh man, he's got a step, and if this one connects, it's a touchdown, and then the ball just lands 3 yards past where the receiver can catch it, and you're just going, it was there. You had it. These are the throws. And I know it sounds, I know I'm sitting here from literally armchair quarterbacking right now.
Yeah.
But if you want, I'm not trying to be an NFL caliber quarterback, right? I'm not trying to do it. I'm not the starter for A&M. I'm not trying to be the starter for A&M. If you're going to be the starter at a school like that, if you're going to play big boy football, then you got to make big boy throws. And, I want to see him play because I want to see the Aggies play, and I think seeing the Aggies play means seeing him play. Do I think there's more talented quarterbacks on their roster? Yeah. I think Haynes King is probably the heir apparent. I think he's got the best shot there of becoming something super, super talented-wise. I think he is what they had a shot with not Kyler Murray, but the one, what was
Kyle Allen?
Kyle Allen. I think Kyle Allen, if truly would have been allowed to play and Kevin Sumlin wasn't coaching for his career.
If he wouldn't have gotten, because he kind of got nicked.
He got a shoulder injury versus Auburn.
Yeah.
And Sumlin threw him under the effing bus.
Yep,
because
exactly.
he had a couple bad throws that went for picks there because he was trying to play hurt because Sumlin was, again, coaching for his career and didn't want to put Murray in the game. And I don't know if he just didn't trust Murray at that point or what it was, but Kyle Allen gave a lot to the Aggies at that point, and the Aggies and someone just kind of threw him under the bus. So I didn't really, when he left, it was like, yeah, I'd have left too. I mean, if you're getting blamed for shit that's your coach's fault, then yeah, your coach doesn't have you back. Your coach should have said, shit. Someone should have come out after that game and said, that's my fault. Right? I didn't put him in a position to win. I didn't put him in a position to succeed. I should have protected him from himself because, of course, he wants to play. But you watch him go to the NFL, and he's a perfectly serviceable NFL quarterback. I'm not saying he's a superstar. He's not. By any means, he's not a superstar.
I mean, he won games.
He won games. He threw, someone effing up 2 NFL quarterbacks at once. Yeah. At least Kyler Murray went on to make, because Kyle Allen went to Houston.
Yes.
To
play for Tom Herman.
To play for Tom Herman, who was still there. And then Tom Herman leaves, and then he doesn't even play at Houston. He doesn't even get to play there. Goes as an undrafted free agent to Carolina, and then sticks around and ends up, actually this last year, getting to put some work in the NFL. And you know what? He's gonna be what the other Houston former quarterback was. And he's going to be a career backup, but he's going to make some money in doing so.
I mean, there is no shame in drawing that big of a paycheck. I mean, if you and I were given the opportunity, we would jump at it.
I'll take $3.5 million to sit on an NFL bench any day.
I tell you what, I would take $250,000 to sit on an NFL bench. I don't care. That's still a shit ton of money.
So, guys, we're gonna get ready to wrap this up. It is getting a little late. We wanted to talk about college football for just a minute because it is something near to us. We do love college football. Kyle loves it a little more than I do. I'm a fan. Kyle's a fan. Right, like
I'm a diehard Bleed Maroon.
Yeah,
I go to almost every game.
The only other thing we have to talk sports is that the Rangers swept the Los Angeles Angels over the
Oh,
weekend.
I was gonna say, last time I checked, the Rangers hadn't won many games.
No, they were doing really bad. They literally in a 3-day span went from the worst record in the American League to in the playoffs.
Okay.
Now, mind you, we haven't played
It's
a lot
like
of
10
games.
games?
Yeah, we haven't played a lot of games yet. But they
Yeah.
swept the Angels, which of course is the Angels aren't very good this year, so it's probably not that
And
big of
I
accomplishment.
saw the Spurs lost 2 already, but they're still like 9th place.
So the Spurs are tied for 9th right now,
Yeah, they got to be
half
8th or
game
better
back.
though.
No. So here's what it is. They're going to have a play-in game or a play-in series with so the Spurs, Portland, and Memphis are all sitting right there, pretty much with the same record. So whoever of those three has the 2 best records will be the 8th and the 9th seed. Here's how this works. I finally have gotten the definitive answer on how this fucking works. Whoever is the 8th seed gets the advantage. They have to win 1 of 2 games, and they're in. Whoever's the 9th seed has to win both games.
So I'm gonna say if the Spurs are 9th, they still made the playoffs, and the streak is on.
That is where we are right now. That if the Spurs, so the Spurs are currently sitting a half game back of the Portland Trailblazers for 9th place. So actually, I'll tell you what, it's actually the Phoenix Suns who are on a 6-game win streak some fucking how. Don't ask me how that happened. All those number 1 draft picks they've had over the last 10 years are finally playing well, I guess. So the Grizzlies are sitting at 33 and 38. Now, mind you, none of these teams are great. Okay, we're not talking the top end of the league here. We're talking trying to scrape through just to make it in. The Pelicans, the Kings, the Timberwolves, and the Warriors are all eliminated. They're all done. They have no chance. If
the Warriors go from being a perennial powerhouse to not even making the playoffs, it's hard to believe.
Klay Thompson was hurt. Steph Curry was hurt. Durant's in New Jersey. So 3 out of your 4 best players sit on the bench or with another team. It bears the reason you're not going to be very good. Okay, so the Spurs have left on their docket. Let's see. They're going to play Houston tomorrow night, which is by far the most
hardest game.
That's a must-win, but it's a very dangerous game for them because Houston's a very good team. Houston's got James Harden. Houston's got Russell Westbrook. Houston's got a couple other Eric Gordon.
Daniel House.
Yeah, they got a couple other really good players. So
former Aggie, by the way.
I got you. We kind of need Houston to take an off night, right?
Yeah.
Say
Harden needs to take a night off.
Yeah, we need to take a night off. Then they have Utah, another good team, which is no slouch. They need to win both those games. So they don't have an easy opponent left. They need to win both those games. The only good news there is that their opponents also have some more difficult games coming up. So we need Memphis is playing Boston. Boston's cream of the crop in the East. So
with Boo Williams over there, another Aggie.
All right, very good. The Phoenix are playing Oklahoma tonight. Well, Oklahoma's one of the better teams. Actually, I'm looking at it now, and Phoenix beat Oklahoma City by 27 points.
Damn.
Not even a little bit. Dallas beat Utah tonight. Toronto beat Milwaukee, which that was probably a good game. That's the cream of the crop. And then, okay, so coming up, we have Memphis is going to play Boston. Portland is going to play Dallas. Dallas is actually a sneaky good team this year. So both of those teams could lose that game. That helps the Spurs out. If they lose, then that keeps the Spurs in contention. If the Spurs are able to win and they lose, then of course, then the Spurs would be better off. Phoenix will play Philly. Philly, who just lost Ben Simmons for the season.
Ooh.
So that's
Ben Simmons is good.
Ben Simmons is good. Yes.
I remember when he played at LSU versus A&M. Shit wasn't fair.
No,
that was like Kevin Durant playing at Texas.
He can play some basketball. All right. Yeah. Memphis will then go play Milwaukee, which is almost for sure loss for Memphis, unless Milwaukee is just resting everybody. Dallas will play Phoenix, which helps because, again, we need Phoenix to lose. Of course, San Antonio plays Utah. Portland then gets Brooklyn, which Brooklyn is not very good because both Durant and Kyrie Irving, who are part of Brooklyn's team are not playing right now. So Brooklyn's
Are
not
they
very good.
are they not playing because of COVID, or are they not
So
playing because of injury?
Durant tore an ACL in his last couple games with the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
So he was going to be out the entire year, one way or the other. There was some talk that because of the break, he might have been rehabbed enough, but he decided to go ahead and just say, you know what?
As much money as he's making, it's probably not worth him
And
risking it.
Kyrie is a walking injury risk at this point. So yeah, Kyrie just he's a great, he's unfortunately he's Derrick Rose all over again. Derrick Rose was a phenomenal player, but just always managed to be hurt.
Yep.
And when he's on the court, he's one of the best guys in the NBA. But always had something wrong with him that just kept him out of being on the court or wasn't 100%. Right? And it was always like when he would come back, he would get back, he'd get in his rhythm, and you'd see it, and it was okay, he's going to take this step and tear an ACL. Or, something. Break an ankle. Something. It was always something with him. And Kyrie Irving is turning into the same thing. For the first 5 years of Kyrie Irving's career, he was the best point guard in basketball. Now he's just a walking injury risk. And if you can get him to where he needs to be, he's as good as they can get. But when he's injured, availability trumps ability a lot of time. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna go ahead and let you guys go for the night. It's getting late on all sides. But thank you so much. Just for the record as to why we're not doing Monday nights much anymore, schedules have changed. Yeah, it's Kyle, you're pointing the wrong direction. There you go. It's mostly my fault. So couple corresponding things. Number one, my wife started a new job. Number two, my kids all have practice for various things at this point. So the son is playing flag football. The daughters are playing soccer. So tonight, wife took son to football practice. I took daughter to soccer practice. They're opposite ends of the town. So we came in late. I text Kyle like, oh, yeah, real quick. So
I was like, I guess I can put a shirt back on, I guess.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that. By the way, weight
No.
check 218.
Good for you.
Hold on,
We
let's get it in
we
the
talked
camera.
about it
Oh, look at that definition.
the other day.
See that shadow?
You have signed up for something, and I'm registered for an actual class next week.
So I will take my test if I'm in town, because I may be in West Virginia, next Wednesday to become a deputy voter register.
Yep, I'm registered. I'm registered for a class next week, Tuesday, and that includes a 1.5 hour class, and then followed by the test. So
they don't do the class here. They don't do in-person class, probably because of COVID. So they send you a PowerPoint, and then you take the test. You have to be in person to take the test.
Yeah, same.
So it depends on whether I'm in town or not. The plan is that I've got a couple buddies here, and we plan to do a voter registration drive sometime in the next week or two, and just go through town and make sure everybody in town's registered to vote. Go door to door, knock on doors. If you don't know, if you live in Texas, it's real easy to check if you're registered to vote. There's a website. Hold on, I'll get it. There's a website in Texas that you can go to, type in your last name, type in your date of birth, and type in your driver's license number, and it will tell you whether or not you are currently registered to vote.
Ross, what's the website?
I'm trying to get to it. Shut up. VoteTexas.gov, maybe? Yes, VoteTexas.gov. If you go to VoteTexas.gov and click Am I Registered, you can go in there and you can select from the different, so there's a lot of different options. So the easiest one is TDL, date of birth, which is Texas driver's license, date of birth. It will tell you whether or not you are registered, and not only will it tell you whether or not you are registered, it will tell you what county you are registered in. So if you have recently moved or anything like that has occurred, then you get it. You can also, from there, print the voter registration form, fill it out, sign it, and send it in to your local county registrar. If you want to go that route, you can hand deliver it or mail it, and that way you are able to make sure you are registered to vote in your current location. October 5th is the last day to register in your current location for the upcoming election. If you are not registered by October 5th, you will not be allowed to vote in the November election. Again, October 5th is the last day to register to vote. Whether you want to vote for Trump, whether you want to vote for Biden, whether you want to vote for Piccadilly
Joe
Circus.
Jorgensen.
Who's Joe? What's her name?
Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah,
Did you see how she made the news the other day?
I haven't because I looked at her policies.
It's the most 2020 thing ever, man.
I looked at her policies, and it's just you can't take her seriously.
No, she's not bad, but she's not great.
Some of my liberal friends have been like, "Oh, she's going to pull votes away from Trump on the Republicans." I was like, "No, she's not. Those people weren't voting for Trump to start with." And it's not like Gary Johnson, who legitimately pulled some vote away from Trump.
Yeah,
namely you.
I liked him. He was a good candidate. He wasn't a bad candidate.
He's not bad, not good, but he's not bad.
I like him. No, Joe got in the news for the most 2020 thing ever. Got bit by a rabid bat. It's like, damn.
So Dan, you just moved. So the question is going to be whether or not they will let you vote absentee still. Have you officially changed your address? Because you have to vote at where your permanent residence or your primary residence is. So if you are saying that you live here, then you have to vote there. If you haven't changed your address yet, you can still probably vote absentee, but that's really... It's not fraud, but it's not fraud. You know what if you know what I'm saying? So I would be careful there and really check the rules and regulations and make sure you don't get in trouble, especially since you're trying to vote in a blue state as a red voter. They're going to be very scrupulous towards you. You know, anybody that's blue can vote because, of course, it's up to the people counting the votes at that point whether or not they want to accept it. You, on the other hand, will have to be good. But guys, we are going to let you go. We are going to have a good night. Say good night, Kyle.
Thanks and gig 'em. Gig 'em and
God bless you all and have a great night. Thank you for staying up late with us, and we'll hope to see you again in the future.
I just keep calling on the help of my peers, but their success makes me distressed. Things will be better when I disappear, bouncing from city to state. Nothing feels great, I'm a committed disgrace. If I could get up, hold my chin up, confident.